So the original discussion was for 2 years for me to stay there, and my task was to ensure that there will be enough energy for the country's needs for the duration of his administration. So I was in DOE for a little over 2 years. So after a while, it became evident that the forecasted brownouts or power shortages was not going to happen. So tapos na yung trabaho ko, di ba? Because that was supposed to be my task. And so I was hoping that at the end of the 2 years, I could go back to the private sector. But at that time, the president decided he needed a cabinet secretary to help him run the cabinet. So he talked to me again and said, mukhang okay na yung energy mo, tapos na yung trabaho mo dyan sa energy. So akala ko may reward na ako. And the reward was to go back to the private life. Unfortunately, the reward was lumipat ka sa Malacanang, tulungan mo ako dito. Come to Malacanang and help run the cabinet.
Ba't hindi kayo ma-let go ni Pinoy?
Hindi ko alam yun.
Kasi you told him na private sector na, pero pinag-usapan ka pa rin to stay.
Well, at that time, he said, look, if you leave now for 2 years, you cannot join any company that is involved in energy, because diba may hold out yung Secretary of Energy. In the law, it says you cannot join an energy company, a company that you used to regulate. So that means any company that has any power investments or any. So for 2 years, hindi ka pwede. Yung isa, there's also a 1-year restriction on a company that is a part owner. I forgot the details now. So it looked logical naman. Sabi niya, wala ka din naman pwedeng pasukan muna. Why don't you come and help first in the palace as cabinet secretary? So that by the time ka matapos as cabinet secretary, di wala ka ng holdout, then you can already work for the government. We discussed what my role was, and it was clear. I prepared documents to establish my office, and it's there, and so that's what happened. So, cabinet secretary for almost 4 years, and then Sec Albert got sick, and was already sick, but it got really bad, and Sec Albert had to go. So, I think I told this story already before. Na akala ko, for a while he did mention that he was considering me, but he also was the one who said na, no, but I need you here in the palace. The cabinet secretary function must continue. So, akala ko wala na. But then, on the last day prior to the ban on appointments, I think he considered several names. He announced that he was looking at 4 possible names to replace Sec Albert. But in the end, he called me to his office and said, sabi nila, okay ka na daw mag-Secretary of Foreign Affairs.
Sir, what is your role in the decision-making of the President? Because I've been talking to a lot of people inside, and sinasabi nila na you and Secretary Ochoa, you're the top 2 talaga na pinagkakatiwalaan in government. So,
No, okay, let's understand that statement. Pag pinagkakatiwalaan ka doesn't mean na you have an input to the decision, di ba? The word trust, I guess, is because he knows us and we know him well, and he knows that we will not and ever do anything, or we will stop something from happening if we know it's going to create problems for him. So that's very different from us being the only ones that can influence his decision or can tell him. So your question was, what is my role in the decision-making process of the president? When and if he decides to involve me, and mind you, there have been many, many decisions that I am not included in, I get involved. But if I am not included in the decision, then I do not get involved. So it doesn't mean that I get to see any and all of the decisions that he has to make. No. As a matter of fact, I know exactly the portfolio or the instances or the issues that I would be involved in and I would not be involved in. Because the president runs his cabinet according to competency. The president will involve the people who he knows have the competency for a certain topic in the meeting that will involve the topic. So, for example, when it comes to politics, the president knows I am not a politician. So the president knows I have no political experience whatsoever. So I am never involved in any meeting that has to do with politics or political considerations because I will not be able to contribute to that discussion. When it comes to economic issues, I am usually involved. Why? Because from day one, even when I was in energy, I was already part of the econ team, di ba? So, and we have very good relationships and interactions with the econ team. And the econ team has always deferred to the Office of the Cabinet Secretary whenever it has issues. Because by the very nature of the economic team, there will be a diversity of positions. Okay, like tourism will want tax exemption for certain things. DOF will not want that. Diba? Or trade wants to lift certain privileges. DOF wants it. But DTI will not want it because it's going to affect your trade and industry or the PES zone. So there are many issues that normally happen in the Econ Committee, in the cluster, wherein there is a need for somebody to mediate, to bring things together. And that's why there's very heavy interaction between the Office of the Cabinet Secretary and the Econ team. The second team that we're very heavily involved in is the Human Development Poverty Reduction Cluster. And the President knows that I am quite passionate about poverty reduction, to tell you the truth. One of the reasons why I did accept the invitation to join government was in the hope and prayer that I could do what I can to alleviate poverty and to make the lives of the Filipino better. And I can rightfully face anybody and say we tried our very best to do that, and we were successful to a certain extent in doing that. It's just unfortunate that we had super typhoons and all these disasters that set us back as far as the poverty numbers are concerned. But otherwise, it would have been a greater issue for us. I was also heavily involved on the climate change because even before joining government, I've been quite passionate about sustainability. I rarely got involved in security matters, but I am involved whenever the President wants me to. I only join security cluster meetings when I am asked to. And Justice and Peace, I don't even remember having attended a single one. Because there naman, the competencies there are the lawyers, that's why AS is there and all that. So my involvement is according to where I am asked to join. And the President manages his cabinet that way. He will bring in the people with the expertise to be able to discuss the topics and the issues at hand.
Sir, how was your relationship with the President changed? Kasi you've been friends since high school or college?
Even when we were in school, I admired the President. He had better grades than me. He read books faster than I could, almost 3 times faster than I could. He would read in a week what I would have to take 3 weeks to read. Okay. The President has the wonderful gift of fantastic memory. If he reads something, he'll always remember it. And all of these were very evident even when we were students. So I've always known him and admired his capabilities. As a matter of fact, when we were students, pag hindi na namin maalala, siya tinatanong namin because of his really, really good grasp of memory. When he became president, the admiration even became stronger. One of our classmates told him, I think after a year of his presidency, he was in the U.S. trip. I don't know if it was in the U.S. Congress or something, but he gave a fantastic speech, a really, really good speech. And this classmate of ours told him na, sobrang galing mo na ngayon. Sayang kung ganyan ka nang sana kagaling dati, summa cum laude sana tayong dalawa. Kasi sabi niya, kasi this classmate of ours would always say na, kaya lang siya pumasa dahil tinutulungan siya ng Pangulo or he tries to copy from the President, di ba? So those classmates jokingly said na, kung ganito ka lang kagaling nung nasa eskwelahan tayo, summa cum laude sana silang dalawa. That's exactly how I would describe how he has been, which is that I think the past 6 years has honed his skills further. This has not been very easy on him. As a matter of fact, this has not been easy on him. I have seen him in his most difficult situations in the past 6 years. In the lifetime that we have been together, I do not remember a time other than his dad passed away or the coup d'etats during his mother term that he was under tremendous pressure, under tremendous issues, because running a country is no joke. Actually, I always tell him, bakit ba gusto nila magpresidente kung alam lang nila gaano kahirap at gaano kadami ng issues. You solve one, there are many you don't solve, or may +1 ka dito, marami kang minus, because it's just the portfolio is so vast. Now, whatever good you do here, there will always be something bad in another place, diba? I think the past 6 years has brought out in him the best in his character. The resolve is fantastic. There were probably times that I would have wanted to say na bumigay ka na, but he did not, because he wanted to hold on to the things that we all strongly believed in, and he really fought for the things that he believed in. Some people will say he was persevering. Some people will say matigas yung ulo niya. Either way you look at it, it requires conviction and it requires character to hang on to that which you believe in.
So, when you mentioned that you saw him sa pinaka-down niyang moments, ano yung mga instances in his presidency na matutukoy niyo na nakita niyo talaga siyang down na down?
I think he himself said it, diba? Mama Sapano was one of them. How I wish it could have been different. And to this day, I will witness to the fact that he did not do anything wrong in that whole fiasco. His biggest mistake, probably, in my opinion, was trusting in somebody that did not deserve his trust.
And that is?
The SAF commander, because his instructions were very clear. And we have witnesses to that. The SAF Intel guy who was there confirmed that the president did instruct him, make sure you're covered by the AFP, make sure you coordinate, make sure you do this and do this. He twisted it to the favor of his interpretation. That was a significant test, and he could have compromised so many times, and he could have played along and authorized people to spend money to spin the story in a different way. But no, he did not do that. He said, no, let's stick to getting to the bottom of this and getting to the truth of it, no matter how painful, no matter how bad, and no matter who gets hurt. Let's go down to seek the truth of it.
What changes did you see in the president, if any, kasi kilala mo siya from way before, so it's a different arena.
I think, for one, the experience has translated to a lot of wisdom. I see him as more deliberate, mas kalmado, hindi siya reactive, hindi siya quick on the draw. He's very he's a lot more deliberate now than when we were younger, no? And I guess that's part of aging. But I heard President Obama tell him, he said, President, I congratulate you, and I wish to express my admiration for your patience and your what term did he use? For his patience and diplomatic something. Let me try to recall exactly what Obama told him. Kasi di ba that crisis we had with the other big country, he could have been more, gung-ho kind of, and yet he proved to be a statesman. He proved to be a globally astute diplomacy person kind of thing. I mean, that you see in him. Two, his attention to detail has never been this sharp. I mean, you'd think that just because he's president, he would have dissipated on that. But no, he knows what questions to ask, and he's out for the right perspective. In a NEDA board meeting, he would always remind people, huwag kayo mapikon sa mga tanong ko, huwag kayo magalit sa kakulitan ko, but I need to be able to convince myself that I can face people to explain why we're spending the people's money in this direction. Diba? Ang sabi nga namin sa kabinete, the President treats government funds like it was his own in a positive context, na ingat siya kung paano gastusin. Sabi nga ng isang cabinet member, oo, pero di ba taga Central Luzon siya? Bakit parang Ilocano siya when it comes to government funds? Yung, I mean, to the last centavo, yung will it really make sense to spend this money? Yung parang ganun.
Is this the reason why first 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, slow yung spending ng government?
No, the real reason why the first 2 years was slow is because we were all trying to uncover first what we had. We did not know how to move on. The first thing was to make sure we had a stability in each of our portfolios. You know, before I proposed sitio electrification, I had to make sure I had the money to do electrification. Before I proposed sitio electrification for 32,000 sitios, I had to make sure there was enough electricity that we could produce to provide 32,000 plus sitios with electricity. So that took a good 2 years to determine.
Sir, can you describe a normal cabinet meeting or cluster meeting na hindi naman urgent or there's no crisis involved? How is the President like?
But the President always tries to... He doesn't want the intensity of it all naman. Unfortunately, by the time it gets to the President, it is intense. You've never been to my office as Cabinet Secretary. Have you been there?
No, I wanted to. Wala na ba yun?
Wala na yun eh. So, I think your predecessor went there, and all of the media who went there noticed a whiteboard inside my office. And the first column says urgent, the second column says very urgent, and the third column says extremely urgent. Okay? And people would laugh when they see that. Sabi niya, pare, sobra ka naman, lumalabas pagka mo. Sabi ko, hindi. Because by the time it reaches my office as Cabinet Secretary, urgent na yon. Kasi tatawag sa akin yung Cabinet Secretary. Sabi, pare, can you please address this issue? Kasi urgent na to. Matagal na namin sinusubukan bunuin to. Hindi kami magkasundo. Kailangan na natin ayusin kasi deadline na sa multilateral agency or what. Kaya urgent na. Tapos magpa-follow up. Pare, sobra na talaga to. Next week na, very urgent na to. And then 3 days before the event itself, extremely urgent. As a matter of fact, when the President comes to my office, he looks at that whiteboard and then he tells me, "Hay nako, walang hindi urgent." Diba? So, cabinet meetings, there are many pleasurable cabinet meetings. There are many enjoyable cabinet meetings where we plan for the Pope's visit or something like that. But quite a number of them are also, as I said, by the time it needs to go up to the President, medyo hindi na siya normal, hindi na siya ordinary. So a typical cabinet meeting is very topic specific. You know, di ba we were being criticized na hindi weekly yung cabinet meeting, hindi monthly. On the contrary, every cabinet cluster met every week. And then what they could not resolve is always referred to us. That's why on a typical week in Malacanang, we would have a cluster meeting with the President. It's almost every week there's an economic issue being brought up to the President. There's a poverty issue brought up to the President. So, you know, sometimes in one day you'd have the President attending 3 or 4 cluster meetings to resolve issues.
So, sir, pag crisis situations, how is it like? I remember your story before when we met na nakachinelas ka pa ata, parang napatakbo ka.
No, because when the President calls on an off-hour basis, you know it's important. If it's something that can wait until Monday, the President will not call a meeting on a Sunday. So you know when the President calls on a Saturday, or when the President calls on a Sunday, or when the President calls at 8 o'clock in the evening, you know that it's important. And he will do that only when it is absolutely necessary to do that. So those are the crisis moments. And he would always bring together the people who he feels are important to managing the particular situation.
Sir, tingin niyo ba, with the experiences sa 6 years under the Aquino administration, mas tumiba yung relationship niyo?
Yes. There are times when he probably is not happy with my decisions, but he would have had to talk to me, and he would. And there are times when I may not agree with his position. I discuss it with him, but if he decides, I follow it already, because that's the rule of thumb with me. You know? I know that some cabinet members would have probably told you about the president saying, "Oh no, Rene wants to see me." Okay, because this.
No, can you tell me about it?
No, because there's this feeling that I always bring bad news. Okay, so when I tell the president, "Can I see you?" his first question is, "Bakit? Anong nangyari?" Okay, because I guess I'm one of those whose role in government is to tell the truth to the president, to bring the realities to the president. So I don't mean to be the naysayer or the negative input, or the always meron pang doomsday sayer or end of the world scenario. No, it's not that. It's just that I have to raise, as I said, by the time the issue comes to me,
It's really serious.
it's gotta be something important, because otherwise it wouldn't reach.
I remember when we had a one-on-one interview with the president, and I asked him about you and Secretary Ochoa, and he said na madalas kayong nag-uusap because you would prevent something from getting to him. Parang you would want to make sure you settle it first before you actually get.
No, I don't get what you mean.
Yun yung sabi niya na parang the way I understood it, if I remember it correctly, na yung dalawang yan lagi yung nag-uusap para hindi makarating sa akin yung mga kaya na nilang ayusin.
Okay, something like that's true. When there are issues that need not to go up to the president, you cannot imagine the sheer number of issues that's happening to 100 million Filipinos on any given day. And Malacanang record section gets a few thousand letters a day, not to mention the number of memos that come from the different agencies. So there are certain agencies who know that they need to send their memos to me, and I need to read it. Like, why did I end up in DFA? Because I probably read every single memo that the DFA wrote to the president, because the president wants me to read the DFA memos that he gets. It's always copy furnished me. So that's why it was decided that I would be the best candidate for DFA, because I'm so familiar with all of the issues here and all the challenges and all that stuff. Even when they were briefing me, they were so surprised na alam ko. Sabi ko, kasi nabasa ko yung memo ninyo. So ganun talaga. Because between the executive secretary and me, we try to, now we're not a cordon sanitaire. On the contrary, we're the ones that will elevate to him. Kailangan mo malaman to. Okay, but kung hindi naman kailangan, it's not that urgent, it's not that big, and it's not really going to harm the office of the president, then we try to handle it at our level. And then sometimes he also delegates certain things. So he will tell me, may problema dito on this aspect. Pare, ikaw na bahala dyan. Siguraduhin mong maayos yan. So that is the signal to me na I'll take care of it, and I'll just give him updates.
Sir, how long have you been friends with the president? High school ba?
College.
College.
Okay.
So how long?
No, we met even before college, but we became really close in college. So
that's 20 years.
we were first year college in 1978.
So ang tagal na. How is it like to have a friend as a boss? Especially
Difficult. I need to learn how to call him Noy again. Because even when we're horsing around, I still refer to him as Mr. President. Why? Because I wanted to make sure that for the duration that he is president, I will never call him Noy. Because I did not want to signal to the others na, close kami, kaya kaya ko siyang tawagin in his first name. As a matter of fact, the other cabinet secretaries would comment, grabe ka pare, even in your lightest moment, pag nag-aalaskahan na kami, there are many light moments with the president, and he makes fun of me quite regularly. So he says, I still refer to him as Mr. President, because I remember Ambassador Perez Rubio telling me, and telling me this. He says, "You are a very good friend of the president, but he is now the president. You must show due respect to the office and to the person, especially when there are other people around, because you do not want to dissipate. Your role is to protect the presidency, to protect the office, to hold the office in reverence."
Sir, so how was it like nung kakapanalo pa lang? Siyempre, you're used to calling him Noy, but the transition, hindi ba siya
Wala nga
at first?
paalis na nga ako. Di ba, we were supposed to part our ways after he got elected.
Oo.
Yeah, well, I told him the night, about 2 o'clock in the morning of May 11, 2010, I said, "Pare, tulog ka na. Bukas pagising mo, you will be known as President-elect."
But how when it's like you guys only, the other college friends of president, you still treat him as president? Pag kayo lang.
There are moments when he does not want to be treated president, and we know that. And we know that we know him well enough to understand the signals. Normally, in the first place, President Aquino does not want to be treated as president, di ba? I mean, his whole personality is he doesn't want to be. Kaya nga he will stop and have picture taking, and we will eat in Melos or in Tropical Hut, di ba? I mean, because he does not want to be treated as president. So, I guess your question is, when we're out on a social event or we're just hanging out or mayroon kaming gagawin, yes, he does not want, I don't treat him as president. But when it's an official function or when in the palace or it's a meeting, I treat him as a president because he is the president of the country.
So pag kayo lang, let's say you invite him to your house, Noy,
No, sometimes Noy, sometimes
Nadudulas.
nadudulas Mr. President pa rin. I think the wives get away with Noy more than we do.
naman. But now, how are you feeling the 2 weeks na lang before?
Well, we're planning for life after. Diba? I think he announced it. I also explained to you about our bread making lessons to produce pandemon. So
No, you didn't tell me.
it was on national TV when we announced it. Okay, we're going to take baking lessons, and I've
Totoo
convinced
ba yun?
something like, I think there are about 12 or already members of the cabinet who will join us.
Sir, is that serious?
It's true. It's true. We actually talked to the guy who's going to be teaching us already, and
Why
4
pandesal?
sessions. It's not pandesal, it's bread making. We've always been
Okay.
curious about saka kailangan ka magmasa and all that. Bread daw is the hardest thing to make. Eh. So we said, let's learn how to do it nga. And then we have this joke, cause, di ba, Sekmon has a place in Tagaytay. It's in the middle of nowhere. Diba? Tagaytay is known for exotic restaurants and all that. So, biruan namin na, tama, mag-aral tayo lahat gumawa ng bread. Tapos, pag meron na tayong magandang bread na nagawa, gagawin natin, bibenta natin dun sa Tagaytay, magbubukas tayo ng pandemon. Kasi sabi namin, pag nagsama-sama tayo, pandemonium, di ba? So, pandemon.
Sir, but seriously, what's your plan now?
Me, I have to go back to work. I mean, I don't have a big business to rely on at the time. I'm going back. I'm looking for a job. I'm talking to a few people. Maybe start working again after a month or two.
Corporate.
Yeah, go back to the corporate life. It's always been where I've been.
Yeah. Nagpa-plan ba kayo ng president? Like, after the term, alis tayo. Let's go somewhere.
We were
Aside from
actually
the
looking at a vacation, but we couldn't come to an agreement where to. As a matter of fact, until ngayon, di pa kami magka-agree.
Sino-sino kayo, barkada?
Some friends, the closer friends that are together, we were actually planning to either go to the beach or something like that. But all things considered, the first challenge is he's moving back to Times. So we're talking about his stuff. The president and I share the same passion about music, so we're talking about moving his
Collection.
amplifiers, his speakers, stuff like that. They've had to redo Times because, diba, inanay and all that. So, I've actually not seen Times. Maybe I'll see it next week because we're going to try we're looking at something. So, his first challenge is the movement, the physical movement back to He doesn't have much stuff. It's more his interest, his hobbies, his music,
Does the president itong presidente na siya, does he also consult you about personal matters?
Yes, we talk a lot about personal things. I talk to him about family. I talk to him about my children. He talks to me about his stuff too.
What about his love life? Do you also, like, he also consults you about it?
I don't think consult is the right word. I mean,
kwento na lang.
yes, we talk. I mean, the president is a wonderful human being. He's not a robot. He's, you know. Eh, di ba, I've been accused of so many things nga, from being bugaw to be this and that. You know, I mean, ako daw nagsa-search for him. Oh, for heaven's sake, he can do that himself very well. He doesn't need me or anyone to help him with that, no? I mean, there are ups and downs. Like in any friendship, there is challenges. So
How did he feel about the loss of Rojas in 2016, in May 2016? And how did you
I
help
think
him?
I think he was disappointed, but that's the political side of him, and I rarely get involved in that. As I said, I'm not, and for good reason. I'm neither a politician or I do not claim political expertise. Talaga. I think the president is being true to himself by saying, you know, it's time to move on. They were asking him to give comments on the president-elect. He refuses to. He says, you know, when we were, as foreign secretary, I have to accompany him in all these new ambassadors, all these meetings. And every visitor we've had, what has he told them? Relationships are not about people. Relationships are about nations. So regardless of who the president is, the friendship should stay and will be there. And we're asking you, as the new administration comes in, there will be a period of learning, there will be a period of adjusting, just like what we had to go through. As a matter of fact, he said, I know how difficult it is to assume the office of the presidency. So he was asking this foreign diplomat, you know, please be patient, please be because it's not easy, because he himself said, I went through that too.
So how is the president like as a regular person?
The president's actually quite funny. You wouldn't believe this. Until today, he sends jokes. I mean, we talk jokes. Yeah, he sends me text jokes. I say, you know, no, he sends me more text jokes, or he has more jokes than I do. And as a matter of fact, he'd always tell me, pare, masyado nang kunot yung noo mo, masyado ka nang seryoso. Relax ka lang, yung ganon. So the president is very level-headed, very stable in the context of even under the extremely difficult situation. He knows how to pace it, how to handle it.
How would you know if the president is in a good mood?
When I see him,
Why? What's in it? What's in him?
I don't know. When I just see him, I know whether he's okay or not.
And same goes also if malalaman mo if he's dating someone or he's in love or something. You just need to see
No.
it.
That's when he tells me. That's not. I don't. No, he has to tell me that. No. No, but whether he's in a good mood or not, it's nothing to do whether he's dating with someone or not. I know if he's dating with someone because he won't call us to go out too often. If we don't go out too often, that means he's busy with someone. And that doesn't necessarily mean we know who it is. Huh?
So usually malalaman nyo na there are times that you really don't get to know who that woman is or
Yes,
after the fact.
until he will tell me na may nakilala ako or I met this person.
Pero during, usually no talaga.
Sometimes it's during. It's really up to him when he decides to let me know about it. Sometimes I guess he doesn't want me to know about it, or there's no need for me to know about it.
Do you also give him advice because you're a married man?
Yeah, we talk. When he asks for an opinion, we express it. I wouldn't like to say there's advice in love. I do not claim expertise on those. I think he will talk to my wife more than me about that. Because my wife is into counseling or has more issues with that.
Is he close to your family?
Yes, he cares about my children a lot. He would often ask, how's Marian, how's Noel, inaanak niyo yung eldest ko. So, when he graduated, he was there. He congratulated my son. And, he talked to my son. And he always tells my children, oh hi, if you don't want to talk to daddy, you can always talk to me. And not just to my children. It's like that to the children of all of our friends.
Sir, kabarkada niyo rin ba
Yes.
He's part of the group. Yung mga yun, yung mga friends na outside of government, what's their role in the presidency? Like, do they give relief lang? Or break?
They're friends. They're real friends. The president is a real friend. The president is a person who is, pagkaibigan ka, hindi kayo plastic. Hindi siya plastic. At pag may masama loob niya sa'yo, sasabihin niya, masama loob sa'yo. At bakit? Yung ganon. Hindi kami, I guess yung definition mo of friend is yung hindi makikipagbulahan lang sa'yo, di ba? Yung somebody who's really going to do it.
Sir, can you describe the president as a regular person? Kasi parang for the most times, ang nababalita lang sa kanya how he is as a president, but not much about how
Okay, how is he a regular person? He has his passions. He has the things that he strongly believes in. He clearly loves this country so much that I'll tell you. I wake up in the morning and I say the only reason why I come to work is because I love this country. To be honest, it's not the money, it's not the glory, it's not the power. I think people have seen me in the past 6 years to know that that's not the motivation for me. And I come to work because I've just been through 3 very difficult days in China. These past 3 days, I can write a book about it, but I will never write a book about it because it's been really, really challenging. And I asked myself, why do I do this? My wife was calling me in China, Dad, how are you? I was hyperacidic, I was really feeling bad and all that. And my wife was saying, Dad, easy ka lang, matatapos rin to. Do not sacrifice yourself too much. But then, you know that there's certain things you need to do for the country. Despite the fact that I can consider myself, I go to work because I love this country, I pale in comparison to the president. I tell you, this guy loves the country a lot more than I do. I've seen him sacrifice a lot more than I've ever done for this country. So, as a regular person, he's like that. When he believes in something, he's like that. If he believes in you, he will be with you. He will support you. If he believes in his nephew, he will support that nephew or that niece. He will talk to them and he will be with them through the challenges. One of his nephews getting married. He was so involved in his decisions to get married. I mean, yes, because he's like that. He cares about people. He cares about people in general, and he cares about people, his friends, quite a lot. He cares about members of the cabinet. He cares about, ang bilis-bilis nyo na naman naglakad, naiwan nyo na naman si Albert. That's the Pinoy. You can never take that. I guess, sabi nga namin, yung pagka-Tita Cory niya, hindi mo ma-erase. He's a combination of Tito Ninoy and Tita Cory. The strength, the commitment, of Tito Ninoy, but the heart, the care, the humanity of Tita Cory is also there with him.
What's the transition that you saw from the president? From being a friend, nakita mo na ba siya na I'm the boss of this country? Or
Yeah. When I disagreed with him.
Tell us more about it. I think that's interesting.
No.
Not everyone would know about it.
No, because I cannot say that, and I don't think anybody will say that we're always in agreement. In the cabinet, no. That's why there's a cabinet secretary, because within the cabinet cannot agree. Diba? I mean, if everything is harmonized, then there is no need for a cabinet secretary. Diba? There should be no need for that. It's really, there is always a difference. Now, so ako lang is, we would question, and that's what he wants. Engage him. Mas natatakot nga siya pag walang nag-i-engage eh.